Greetings, Starfighters! Welcome back to Shameless Cashgrab and our first ever animated movie. Dragonworld: The Legend continues. I don't know if it's actually a sequel or if it just has a unintentionally confusing title, but these things happen. So let's have a quick look-see at the cast here, see if there are any recognizable names like we've had in the past. Drake Bell. Drake Bell. Okay, let's just do this. Oh, this keeps happening.
Well, this is embarrassing. This isn't actually an animated movie at all, as you'll see soon enough. Now, in my defense, the image chosen to represent this film on the back of the DVD made it look like it was animated, given what the dragon looked like. And also how tiny the picture was. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But anyway, Dragonworld: The Legend Continues from 1999. Plot summary courtesy of IMDb. In the remote Scottish Highlands, a place steeped in myth and mystery, there lives a boy wizard. His name is John McGowan, and his only true friend is Yowler, the last dragon on Earth. But Yowler is in terrible danger. His archenemy, the Dark Knight, has returned and is determined to slay the dragon so that he might use the magical powers of the creature's blood to unleash a new age of darkness on the planet. Only young John can save Yowler, and so begins the ultimate battle between good and evil. Oh, if only the movie was that interesting. Anyway, turns out this is not, as I suggested in the video portion, a sequel. No, this movie, with the words "The Legend Continues" in the title, is actually a prequel. It's a prequel to a movie from 1994 titled, Dragonworld. I haven't even really started the movie yet, and it is already causing me to rethink how I do this whole damn show. That's in addition to all the stuff with Drake Bell there. Anyway, it's worth noting that the director of this film, Ted Nicolau, may be familiar to you. He's directed such cult classic films as Subspecies, Subspecies 2, Subspecies 3, Subspecies 4, The Dungeon Master,
I reject your reality and I substitute my own.
So now you know where Adam Savage got one of his most iconic lines on Mythbusters from, and one of the many Puppet Master movies. And I thought last episode's movie was as close as we were going to get to a full moon picture. This guy has made more full moon pictures than I've even seen. Probably time to talk about the movie itself. This movie. We open on expository narration as a guy with a sword goes through what can charitably be called a cave, who is implied to have been one of the Dark Knights from the summary who killed almost all the dragons. This epic battle is shown to us by way of shadows on a rock wall. Thrilling. Anyway, the narration proceeds to tell us the Fae saved the baby dragon from the night before gifting him to a young boy to raise centuries later because reasons, and it occurs to me this whole thing is a recap of the first movie because the boy in these scenes doesn't look like the one we see after the narration stops. The now more grown-up dragon enters the picture, and sweet Jeebus, this thing is just... Ooh. In still images like the ones you're getting, it doesn't look too bad. But when the thing is in motion, by which I mean the guy wearing the suit is moving around in front of the camera, it's a little unpleasant. The hijinks that ensue don't help. We're not even 6.5 minutes in, and I already kind of hate this. The movie implies that the dragon, Yowler, is acting the way he does because basically swords are a PTSD trigger for him. Oh boy, this is so not the kind of movie that can handle something like this. I'm all for movies geared towards children being willing to tackle difficult subjects, but you need a deft hand for that, and the guy who directed Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys and a movie called Aliens Gone Wild might not be your go-to for that kind of thing. And also, this never comes up again. Like it all, Yowler sees a sword quite a bit during the final act, and it means nothing. So what I've been able to parse from some quick comments I glanced on the Letterboxd review page for this movie is that what we are seeing here takes place during what was described as a 15-year time jump from the first movie. So the stuff that I assume is clips from the original movie that are being used as flashbacks in this one, like, that's all from the first act. I hope I explained that well, because I do not want to do another take. Not having seen the first movie before watching this prequel, that I didn't even know was a prequel until the day that I watched it, I'm a tad lost about a few things. So there's stuff about dowsing rods in here that manages to make my eyes roll, even in a movie where the people holding them are standing next to a friggin' dragon. They stumble across the big stone the Dark Knight who tried to kill Yowler when he was a baby was imprisoned in. He gets free because if the Fae had simply killed him, we wouldn't have a movie. And funnily enough, the Dark Knight is freed when the grandfather of our main character plants his staff in just the wrong place right after telling John that it will be his responsibility in the future to keep said Dark Knight from being freed.
Ironic.
Also, come on. The main conflict of the movie being caused by an old man sticking something long and hard where he really shouldn't. This had to be on purpose. The old man goes to fight the escaped knight while John and Yowler run away, and it goes about as well as you'd expect. And not just because the man is old as balls, but also we aren't even a third of the way through the movie yet. The knight comes for Yowler eventually, on a horse that he summoned through magic in a scene that is nowhere near as cool as you might hope. As John, the caretaker of the house, and Yowler try to hide, the movie tries to have the tension of the approaching night and the antics of Yowler randomly knocking a bunch of shit over as he runs through the house. As such, the sequence is neither tense nor funny, but rather tedious. By the way, I'm already almost at the half-hour mark with this. That is how slow this movie is. Even when I put it at 1.5 speed, it still plods. Honestly, more than once, I forgot that I had it at 1.5 speed until characters started talking again. An ASMR meditation video would be more exciting than this, and I would remind everyone this sequence we're still in is about quite literally preventing an evil knight from completing a genocide. And then someone from the Department of Child Welfare shows up. The Dark Knight is still on the premises, by the way. He can't get in, though, because of an iron cross on the door. Well, one door. We see other doors, but I guess he can't get through those, despite the implication he has at least a small amount of telekinesis, because of the reason. Anyway, with child services here in a children's fantasy movie, odds are you can already guess what the next chunk of the film is like. Right down to the implausible explanations, the stiff attitude, the misunderstandings, yada yada, all very trite. I will grant you that it's been a long time since I was in the target demographic for this movie. So long that we've had 5 presidents and 8 new Star Trek shows. But honestly, I doubt I could have gotten invested in this when I was a kid, and I doubt any other kid that age would either. So the social worker, or whatever they call them in Scotland, takes John away, and the dragon escapes the house to chase after him. The knight follows the dragon, even after getting shot by the housekeeper, Mrs. Cosgrove, since I didn't mention her name earlier. Yada yada. Social worker lady sees the knight after he stabs her car, and John runs off. He decides to take a nap for some reason, speaks to a ghost of his grandfather, and it just occurs to me as I'm writing this part just how little of the actual dragon we've seen so far, relatively speaking. But hey, it's not like its name is in the title or anything. And it's not like he's CG, so what's the deal here? It's obviously not a budget problem. I mean, did the guy in the suit keep passing out or something? Actually, come to think of it, that's probably totally what happened. I mean, have you heard the horror stories from people who had to wear full costumes at Disney World in Florida during the summer? I know this movie is set in Scotland, but I bet it wasn't filmed there. In fact, let me go ahead and check. Pretend I'm making typing noises. Filmed in Romania. Okay, so if I have any Romanian viewers, what's the weather usually like there? Anyway, a hunter from earlier in the film reappears just in time to spot and almost shoot Yowler before running away. The Dark Knight catches John in a net. The social worker knows martial arts, apparently, and in a better movie, a Scottish civil servant knowing kung fu might be funny or at least interesting, but not here. Now there are suddenly more characters who the hunter is trying to rile up into a mob to kill Yowler, which I wouldn't believe would work even if I didn't know this movie is a frequent prequel. The movie tries to shoehorn in a message about mob mentality that on its own is fine, but here only feels like padding the runtime. John is able to set the Dark Knight's spellbook on fire, causing the horse to vanish and the knight to drop his sword, which John plunges into the ground at the convergence point of 2 ley lines, because ley lines have been a bit of a recurring theme this movie, and also more dowsing rods. He's defeated, the mob and the social worker all agree to help John protect the dragon, sappy stuff happens, the end. Random thoughts I had while watching the movie. Maybe it's just me, but somehow the shadow puppet dragon from the beginning actually looked more fake than the practical dragon suit they use in the rest of the movie. Well, shadow puppet is the wrong term to use here. The way this scene is shot, I think it's meant to imply that it's supposed to be a shadow of a dragon, but hopefully you know what I mean. I think all I really need to say about the score of this film is that the closed captioning on more than one occasion describes it as upbeat Celtic music, even during what are supposed to be sad scenes. I don't even want to get into how characters talk in this movie. No one talks like a normal person. Even the bureaucrat speaks like she's in a knockoff of a Shakespeare play. I could let it slide if not for the fact that this movie is supposed to be set on the ostensible real world, i.e. Scotland circa approximately the mid-80s. If it was set like in a fairyland or in the distant past or something, I could deal with this, but I mean, people are using cars and telephones. I don't know if it is possible for me to convey just how much of this film's runtime consists of people just walking around looking for other people, or a dragon, in the woods, in a field, or in a house. It's a lot. A lot. The hunter and his mob didn't even pretend to listen to what anyone was telling them. Not wholly unrealistic, I suppose, but they really stretched it here. Them not believing what they were being told would have made more sense, or them not hearing because of some loud noises around them, that would have made sense. But them acting like they heard completely different sentences from what were actually being said, that just... Yeah, maybe once or twice I could have let that slide, but it happened a lot in the third act, and it just got so annoying. Final verdict. Like an old butter knife, this movie is just dull. I don't know that I have ever been this bored by a movie on this show before. Well, now come to think of it, I think there were a few in season 3 that were dozers. But the point is, I had an energy drink before I started watching this. Shut up, I know they're bad for me, I don't care. And I was still feeling sleepy by the 38-minute mark. I have seen just about every premise and every theme this film has done better by other movies. Other movies that, in some cases, are a decade or more older than this one. I'm sorry, folks, but unless you must see absolutely every single movie with a dragon in it, or every single movie directed by Ted Nicolau, just take a hard pass on this one. I mean, I'll give it points for, not having anything particularly offensive in it. In fact, it tries to be enlightened in certain places. Emphasis on the tries. But, yeah, it's just so dull. Normally, when an episode of Shameless Cashgrab is short, it's because I like the movie. There have been a couple of exceptions for that. But generally speaking, over the 7 seasons of this show, the shorter the episode, the more likely it is that I liked the movie. I don't really know why it is I have less to say about the movies I like. Maybe I don't want to spoil them too much so that other people will go and check them out, whatever. Point is, the reason this episode is so short is that because despite everything that I listed in the plot summary, very little actually happens. All of that stuff I described fills 90 minutes. This movie didn't need to be 90 minutes. Wait, or maybe it just felt like 90 minutes. Hold on a second. It doesn't actually say on the... No, it was 90 minutes. It was 90 minutes. It did not need to be 90 minutes. It could have been 80. And that would have been enough to count as a movie, and it would not have felt like such a slog. And I'm going on about it so much that this episode is going to end up not being as short as I think it is. Okay, let's just move on. Come back next time when we close out Season 7 with a movie titled The Secret Kingdom. Have fun. Stay safe.